Welcome everybody, my name is Dr. Ross. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Tonight we've got a very cool topic because we're going to encompass a whole bunch of different topics within this one topic. We call it keeping healthy for the holidays, but really we're talking about how you handle stress, how you manage your time, how you eat through those holidays, movement and exercise. And we really want to start from, gauging yourself so that not only can you fully enjoy the holidays, but you can actually benefit from all the cool stuff that holidays are about, like eating stuff and socializing and all that kind of the stuff that really makes the holidays cool. So when we talk about holidays, of course, we talk about the stress of the holidays. We talk about it's a very much a time of people looking at others and being depressed. We look at financial pressures, of course, with the Christmas and all that kind of stuff. Decreased sunlight or seasonal affective disorder is very, very common. In fact, I guarantee you about 80% of the people in here have that or have some semblance of that. That means that with less light, like if you looked out the window and it's dark and it's kind of, a bummer, that plays on our emotions and and that's this time of year. Colder weather, of course, not only does colder weather affect us, from the standpoint that, we're cold and that's stressful, but it's the barometric stress that affects us. So in other words, the barometric pressure is different, so that means your joints are more affected. Each joint in your body is got pressure in it. So if the pressure goes up or down, the pressure within your joints goes up or down. So with this time of year, you have colder mornings, warmer daytime, and so the rise and fall of barometric pressure is different. Increased demands on time, of course, that's you go, go, go. You've got to go here, you got to go there. The kids have Christmas pageants and all that kind of stuff. Poor nutrition, of course, this comes, this is a huge one because there's so much junk food around, there's so much candy, and everyone brings cakes and, all that kind of junk food, and it's hard to say no. No exercise or movement, this is very common for people, and it's not, I'm always hesitant to use the word exercise, because exercise has this negative stigma, right? It's like, exercise, you picture someone on the treadmill, like sweating it out. We're not really talking about that kind of exercise, we're talking about movement. So in other words, you should be moving your body and moving your spine through its full range of motion every single day, multiple times, and with the holidays, you're doing that less. You're sitting down more, you're not doing that as much. So all of these things cause stress upon our body. And so the reality is, if you want to beat stress, as if there's like a magical bullet or something. But stress can be beaten, but the first thing that you start with is, what is it? How does it affect my body? You start understanding that, it's a different ballgame. Like, for example, when I teach nutrition, and I teach, as a nutritionist, we teach people how to lose weight, we teach people how to gain weight, we teach people how to get to that optimal level. The first thing is not teaching people how to eat, is not teaching what good food is or bad food is. The first thing is showing what food does to your body, to know the inner workings of food. Because if you understand that, if you understood what fast food does to your body, the chemicals in it, and what the additives and all the processing of it, then you look at fast food differently. It doesn't mean that we have taught it bad or good, it's just now when you see and smell fast food, it's a different mental picture comes in your brain. Does that make sense? Same is true of stress. So just like with fast food, I could tell you, hey, fast food's bad. In fact, I've gone to schools and I've taught the kids, hey, fast food's bad. And I show them a hamburger and an apple. And I say, kids, what's better, the hamburger or the apple? What do you think they say? Apple's better. And I say, okay, who wants hamburgers? Yeah, we do. And it's like, okay, so they get it that one food's better than the other, but they still want the hamburgers. So they understand what's better, but they still want the bad stuff. But if you start to understand what is in the hamburger, why it is bad, all the fats and what that does to your body and long-term effects and all that kind of stuff and the pesticides and the preservatives and the additives, then you start to think differently about the hamburger. It no longer becomes food. You look at it like, look at that blob of goo, Not with kids. Kids is a little tougher. But so we talk about what we want out of this class or this whole process of holidays, we want to live the 5 essentials. We're going to go over the 5 essentials. We want to understand stress, and we want to have the healthiest holidays ever. Does that sound good? So the 5 essentials is what we teach here for you new guys. It's the 5 essentials is very straightforward. It is the 5 things you should be working on a daily basis for the rest of your life if you want to be ridiculously healthy. Because ultimately, God put this power inside our body to be healthy. And that power runs 100% of the time, as long as there's nothing blocking or nothing interfering. If there's interference on that power, then your body doesn't run at 100%. So the 5 essentials essentially trying to eliminate whatever's blocking it from getting out. And so we look at, obviously, nutrition and exercise. So maximize your movement, maximize your nutrition. That's diet and exercise. We look at maximize your spine and nervous system. So when you take really good care of your spine, you're actually taking really good care of your spinal cord and your brain. Minimize your toxicity. Now, this is a really big one in America. You are taking in toxic substances at all times. For people that are on lots of medications, that's probably the most toxic thing you can do to your body. So you want to minimize your toxicity and maximize your mind and relationship. So part of doing the workshops is we're working on number 5 right now. So you maximize your mind by filling your mind with good, positive things, changing the way you think about things, managing your stress, managing your time better, and you will function better. It's not just a myth. You will actually, your physiological body will function better. So, the U.S. is the 5th most stressed out nation in the world. Don't ask me how they got all these stats, but fifth most nation, they say it's the 5th most stressed out nation in the world. When they measured how much smiling we do, we measured 33rd. So we were far away from the, if you want to do one simple thing, and I'll show you this cartoon a little later, is smile more. When people say hello, you smile at them. When people say, get out of here, you smile at them. Smiling is, and I know this sounds goofy, but when you smile, it not only works something like 64 muscles in your face and head, but it also releases endorphins in your brain and actually has a very positive effect. It's no doubt that we are the 5th most stressed out nation, and we are 33rd in smiling. If we bump that up to 30th, we'd probably be 6th or 7th. You know, so smiling's an easy one. This is a great one. Black Friday, because only in America people trample over others for sales exactly one day after being thankful for what they already have. This is our holidays. This is what it is. I grew up in Canada where Thanksgiving was in October. And so there was no big sale after Thanksgiving. It was just sort of, you ate, you felt really bad for a while, and then you woke up the next day and you went to work. And here it's a totally different thing. It's all about the sales and the, you know, getting up at, what is it, 4 in the morning now that Walmart's open?
Oh, no, it's all night long.
Oh, it's all night long. Wow. So even better. I was in Salt Lake City on Sunday for a conference there, and I had a later flight, so I was just walking around their downtown core, and I thought I was like in some sort of zombie movie, because there was nothing going on there. No stores open. There was a mall there. There was all these stores, and nothing was open. Obviously, that's the law in Salt Lake City, but having nothing open is so weird for Californians because everything's open all the time. I mean, you want to go grocery shopping at 3 in the morning? Awesome. Let's go. It's open, right? So the 3 types of stress. Most people think stress is mental. It's not. Stress is hormonal. Stress is none of these 3 things. It's really hormonal. Stress is hormonal changes within your body. That's what stress is. And we're talking about the negative type of hormonal stress, which is cortisol. Who's ever heard of cortisol? Yeah, so when your body's stressed out, let's say you're getting chased by a bear or a saber-toothed tiger, it doesn't matter. You're getting chased by that bear and your brain perceives danger to itself, or it perceives, for lack of a better term, it perceives negativity. So it knows something bad is there. Whether it be, you know, how you feel or what you see or how your chemistry is inside, it doesn't really matter. It perceives something bad and some threat to you. And so that goes up to your brain through the nervous system, goes up to the brain through the nervous system, and then you eventually get back to your adrenals and you start releasing adrenal hormones. And cortisol is the most common one. This allows you to fight off the bear better. So it shunts the blood into your muscles so you can run and fight, right? And it also shunts blood away from your digestive tract, because you don't need to be digesting food when the bear's eating you, right? So you don't want to digest food. You want to have all power towards your fighting senses. It heightens your awareness. You become far more sensitive to pain. So when you're stressed out, you feel pain much more than you would normally do. It also decreases your immune system, because you don't need to heal wounds if the bear's chasing you. So in sort of that scenario, in sort of older times, when the bear would chase you, you'd run away, you'd run up the tree, and then the bear would lose interest and he'd go away. And then you'd come back down, the stress would go way up and then it would go down, right? But modern day is a lot different. It's like the bear is this marathon bear, and he's going to chase you slowly for the next 26 years. You know, it's like, and so you constantly have to run, and every time you look back, oh my God, there's 2 of them now. And you constantly, so your stress level stays not quite as high, but it stays on forever. So it's important to learn how to turn it off. And how can we reverse it so that we do get that rest and we do get to recharge and we don't have cortisol pumping through. Because what happened was with that bear is, yeah, I didn't digest food and I didn't use my immune system, so my wounds weren't really healing very well. But when I got away from the bear, I turn off the cortisol system, I turn on the parasympathetic system, and I start to heal and digest. The muscles aren't used, so the blood gets shunt back into the other parts of your body. So every part of your body is kind of like an on-off switch, right? So and it's normal to get turned on and turned off. So we want to be able to turn off sometimes the cortisol, the stuff. So when we talk about mental, physical, chemical stress, that is the mental things, the physical things, or the chemical things that turn on the cortisol, that are viewed as negative. So in mental stress, it might be your relationships. You know, you have negative relationships with your boss, with your friends, with your spouse, with your whatever, your children. Anything that's negative, that's uncomfortable, that your body perceives as some sort of threat. It could be other things mental as well, like you hate your job or you don't like going to school or whatever it may be. So all things that are mental that cause that cortisol rise, we would call that mental stress. Physical stress is things like, you know, lifting poorly, sitting poorly, a bed that doesn't fit you right, bad posture. All those things cause physical stress. Now, physical stress causes the exact same hormonal changes as mental stress. So when you're under physical stress, it goes, those nerves activate, they go up to your brain perceives what we call nociception, which is discomfort. And it can be pain. That's all part of nociception. And then that brain activates the adrenals release cortisol. Exact same process happens. So physical stress is the same as mental stress. It just happens from physical entities. Chemical stress is one that's often overlooked. This is like if you're taking a lot of medications, you're putting a lot of chemical stress on your body. So those chemicals come in, they cause free radicals. Those free radicals are noticed by your body. That sends nociception up to your brain. Your brain then perceives that and causes the adrenal to put out things that adrenal hormones like cortisol. So chemical stress does the exact same thing as physical stress or mental stress. It's all stress. All stress is hormone rise of cortisol. And so it's a negative, sort of your body is feeling like it has to fight for itself. By the way, I thought this was funny. You know, we always used to say that the sort of sympathetic system was fight or flight, right? Who's ever heard of that, fight or flight? Well, now they've changed it. Did you know this? They changed it to fight, flight, or freeze, because some animals just drop dead and they don't do anything. And I thought, well, that's an interesting one because it doesn't really, I mean, I suppose it does help you survive, like as a possum or something, you fake death, right? But so some humans apparently do the same thing. When you know, they come up to great stress, they just are inactive. And that's very important when you talk about the kind of stress that we're talking about, like the bear chasing you over miles, because some people just have inactivity as their response to stress. Some people lash out. Some people pull way back. But others just do nothing. And they just sit there as if the bear's going to go away. So important to know that so that you can see, well, how am I going to react to this? When you know that stress is there, chemical stress, physical stress, mental stress, you can react to it, right? And that's part of dealing with it. So we just talked about that. Chemical stress can also be nutritional deficits, which is stuff like how you're going to eat in the next week or so. Toxins in the air, water and food, preservatives, additives, medications, sugar, drugs, alcohol. Sugar is a big one. Who thinks sugar is a poison? It's kind of like a poison, especially that high fructose corn syrup. Sugar is natural, glucose is natural, but if you're eating a lot of high fructose corn syrup, that's the worst one. That puts a tremendous amount of chemical stress on your body. Poor posture, weak muscles, imbalances, structural problems, dealing with pressures such as work, financial, relationships, family health, all those things cause rises in cortisol. So we talked about that a little bit already. Adrenaline, cortisol are the two stress hormones that are released. Long-term effects. So people that don't handle stress will have long-term effects. The main problem is your immune system. So the biggest thing that stress does to your body, that cortisol does to your body, is it decreases your immune system. So who's ever heard of the term flu season? Right? Because it's marketed to us now. Got to get your flu shot. Flu shots, flu season, flu shot, flu season, as if like the flu bug just flew in from Hawaii. It had been on vacation all summer, but now it's come to infect us. The reality is that the flu season, or the flu and cold season, is really just how our immune system drops and we become susceptible hosts. Did you think the flu bug was not there in the summer? On all the countertops and in the bathrooms and stuff? It was there all the whole time. But it didn't affect us as much because our immune system was higher. So I always say, you cannot catch a cold. It's impossible. You can't catch the flu. The flu catches you. The cold catches you. Your immune system drops, you become a susceptible host, it's got you. Picture the lions on the plains of the Serengeti. The lions don't look for the strongest wildebeest to take down. They don't have a chance. What kind of wildebeest do they look for? The weak ones. The ones that have suppression, the old, the young, the ones with broken legs, whatever it is. So bacteria and viruses, they don't necessarily seek you out that way, but when they come into contact with a weaker host, that's why you get sick. So obviously there's a balance there. I'm not saying, hey, you shouldn't, clean things and try and avoid people that are really sick. But the premise there is that our immune system drops a lot when we are stressed, mentally, physically, chemically. That's the number one thing. Can anyone tell me what the number one sign of a weakened immune system is?
Fatigue.
Fatigue, absolutely. So when you wake up and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I didn't get any sleep. The number one metabolic drain on our system is the immune system. So it uses the most energy. When that's running real high, trying to fight stuff off, you will drain all your energy. You'll wake up feeling like, man, I feel like I've been fighting dragons all night. I'm exhausted. That's the immune system. So immune system drop can cause all sorts of things, not just coughs and flus. We're talking cancer, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, you name it. All those things are a weakened immune system. Who here in this room thinks that America is super healthy? Is there anybody? Dr. Trish does. That's because all our patients are super healthy. So America is one of the sickest places on the planet. And then we're the 5th most stressed out in the nation. And we use the more medications, so we're the most chemically stressed in the nation, or in the world, by far. Almost 60% of all the drugs produced in the entire world are consumed right here in the United States. Almost 60%. And we're only 5% of the world population. So all those chemicals in our system put a tremendous amount of stress on our system, and that decreases our immune system and opens us up to other stuff. So understanding this is important. If you look at the Americans, #1 in cancer per person. Your chance of getting cancer, number one in the United States. Number one in heart disease and strokes. Number one in diabetes. Number one in obesity. I mean, stats don't lie. So if you understand this stuff and you start working with it, and we'll show you how to work with this, you're going to get much better results than the majority of America. So the health spectrum is a really easy thing to look at. Picture a line, 0 to 100. 100 is 100% health. 0 is death. You're dead. When you're at 0, say no more. So when you go that way towards the full health, when you do things that move you this way, you're moving this way on the health spectrum. You're getting healthier. When you're moving this way, you're getting sicker. Your immune system is going down and you're becoming less and less able to fight things off. We always say there's a threshold for sickness. It might be, let's say, 70. So on that threshold, or when you're on that spectrum, 70 is where you need to be to feel good, to function well, to be able to fight all stuff off. Does that mean you're at 100? No. It means you're at 70. But your body's still able to fight stuff off. So as you drop below that 70, you become less and less able to fight stuff off, right? So that's that threshold. So the stuff we talk about is really not so much to help you feel better or to help you have less pain or to help you fight off colds or flus. It's really to move you this way on the health spectrum. Does that make sense? So if we move this way on the health spectrum, you're going to fight off things better. You're going to function better. You're going to digest your food better. Your immune system's going to function better, all those kind of things. Does that make sense? So where do you think most Americans are on that scale? Just take a wild guess. 50. 50? Yeah, so most experts agree that we're between 30 and 50 on that scale. On the average American, 30 and 50. So they're, what John Stewart says, they're comfortably sick. Right? So they're not dead, but they have lots of stuff going on with them. Now that's the average. I would say that's 30 is pretty low, maybe 50 to 60. So they get sick quite a bit and they kind of vary up and down. We want our patients to be up in the 80 to 90 range. And you do it with the 5 essentials. You eat better than you have before. You move and exercise better than you have before. You take better care of your spine than you ever have before and your nervous system. You minimize the toxicity better than you ever have before. And you maximize your brain and your mind and your relationships better than you ever have before. And we're not talking about, for some of you guys taking notes, we're not talking about making drastic changes. Because guess what happens when you make drastic changes? You said it, actually. Yeah, it's stressful for your system because you're not adapted to it. So for example, if I just said, hey, everyone, we're going to do the Arctic diet. It's really good, sweeping the nation. It's whale blubber and seal salts. And if we start eating that stuff exclusively, it's going to be intensely stressful to our system because our body hasn't adapted to it. So you have to make small changes if you're going to do that. Pick, I always say, pick 2 or 3 things that you hear tonight and work on those things. And I'll ask you to write them down or to sort of put them in your phone or visualize them at least. And pick those 3 things because, that's why I say come to the workshops because you get so much more out of the workshops than if you were just watching the videos. So your choice, your actions or lack of actions will move you either to the left on the health spectrum or to the right. It's all you. Don't buy into this whole medical thing that, well, you caught a cold. Nothing you could have done. Woe is you. You were the unlucky one. I would say to you that health is not lucky. It's not lucky that I haven't had the flu in 10 years. It's not lucky that I look the way I look or that someone else looks the way they look. It's not lucky at all. It's not lucky that my kids have never missed a day of school in their life for first being sick. And I'm totally not saying, oh, me, you. I think my kids are just healthy because we take care of them that way. And that's the way God intended for us to be. So your actions or inactions will dictate your luck on that spectrum. Does that make sense? So there's no such thing as, I'm so unlucky I caught the flu this year. It's like you got the flu because your actions or inactions led you to that path. you know. It's not like, for some example, people say, well, I got on the plane and I caught the darn bug that was on the plane. Well, you were definitely exposed, but everyone else on that plane was exposed as well. And if I surveyed every single person on that plane, I guarantee you that not everyone got sick. So if it was that easy, that's how it would work. Does that make sense? You already have the capacity to be healthy within you. Drugs and chemicals always move you away from health. So this is a big shocker to most medical professionals. When I say things like, there is no drug on the planet, even the ones you need, that make you healthier. Not one. There's not one. Not aspirin, not Tylenol, not chemotherapy. So a lot of people that have cancer, my wife had cancer, you know, they'll tell you, well, chemotherapy saved my life. And it might have shrunk that tumor, which is very good. And maybe it did, you know, save you from that at the time. But chemotherapy didn't make you healthier. Chemotherapy may have shrunk that tumor, but chemotherapy is one of the most toxic poisons on the planet. So I'm not saying that drugs are bad at all. And I'm not saying that you should never take them, you know, if they're called for. But what I'm saying is you got to understand that those chemicals that if you put poison in your body, you move this way on that health spectrum. Even if you have to do that to get to the other side. So it's important to recognize that, because we take more drugs in the United States than anywhere on the planet. We say, you know, you ask kids, 4-year-old kids, what do you do if you have a headache? Take Tylenol. They've never taken a Tylenol in their life. But they know because they've seen the commercials. They even have Tylenol commercials for kids now. You know, what do you do if you have gas? Oh, you take, you know, whatever, Tums. Because they've seen the Tums commercials. So the whole premise is every time you take one of those chemicals, you move further to the right, less away from health, more towards sickness and disease. I love this one. This is just a holiday thing. It says, unassembled snowmen for sale, cheap. And it says, can look just like this. I wish I had done that in Canada. This thing says, honey, our lawyer wishes us, but in no way guarantees, a Merry Christmas. So let's talk about the suggestions that I have. Now, I want to make this very clear that if you try and do everything that we talk about, God bless you. I hope that it works out. But the reality is the vast majority of people will kind of do it for a short time and then slough off. If you pick 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things and you just do those things habitually, then you'll get really good results. So how do we handle mental stress? Well, you keep the thoughts on positive things. Avoid the news. Why do I say that?
It's depressing.
Yeah, it's so depressing. It's like another murder, another whatever. It's like terrible. TV, a lot of TV is very negative. So TV can be positive too, but a lot of TV is negative. If you're watching it, be aware that those things are filling your brain. Dr. Trish loves The Real World. Positive or negative?
Negative.
Yeah.
But I laughed the whole time.
I'm sure.
I'm smiling.
You're saying, I'm glad I'm not like that person. People that are negative. So avoiding people that are negative. This is a super hard one. Because you might look and you go, wow, my husband is negative. Or, well, my best friend is super negative. So how do you handle that? Well, there's a lot of different ways. But one simple way is by sort of opening it up and going, you know, hey, you're really negative. Maybe you should try and be a little more positive. Maybe you should stop talking about the election or all the stuff that bothers you or whatever it may be. So negative people exude negativity. What do? You pick it up. It's kind of like if you see someone running away from the bear, you don't say, hey, buddy, what's going on? You start looking for the bear, you know, and then you start hearing the rustling in the bushes and you're running too. So negativity breeds negativity. But what's the opposite of that? Get with positive people. And you know these positive people because they rub off on you. You feel good when you're around them. They always lift you up. They're all saying, man, you look good. Hey, what do you know, and they're just, you know, those are the kind of people you want to associate with more. So if you're and I always say this is terrible, and I know it's terrible, but I'm a terrible person. No, I'm not. So if you're at a party, if you're at a party, like your house, because I've just happened, this is why I'm terrible, because I've got in-laws, and I know some of them are negative. And so at that party, I'll say, hey, how you doing? Well, I got to go. And I'm over to the positive people. And you'll see, I spend the vast majority of my time with the positive people at the party because they lift my energy. They give me joy and hope, and we laugh, and we never. Every time you move over to this person, all of a sudden it's whining about this. And can you believe that? Oh my God, the world is ending, you know? And so that's very, very hard. It sucks all the energy out of you. So even if you do that, just say, I'm going to hang with a couple people that are more positive at these gatherings. Do that. Associate or pray, meditate. So I can't say enough about this. Even if you're not, a religious person, just sitting and just, turn off the volume on your car. Don't listen to the radio. Be amazed how uncomfortable it is to sit with your own brain for a while. Being sort of centered, it doesn't have to be a religious thing. For me, I pray. So I kind of get and I focus my thoughts and I kind of see if I can pick up some of the nuances and stuff. But for other people, just spending some time. How do you make sure that you spend the time? Any idea? Schedule it. Schedule it and say, every night before I go to bed, I'm going to do this. That's why, when mom says, okay, make sure you say your prayers, now you can go to bed. Because when you schedule it, when you invest it, then you're going to do it. Take deep breaths. Everyone take a deep breath for me. All the way out. Now, we've done a whole lot more than just get some oxygen into our system. First of all, we've expanded our rib cage, which is movement. Movement, which we'll talk about, is proprioception. Remember I talked about the negative nervous system is nociception? The positive nervous system is proprioception. By moving our lungs and our rib cage and our bronchioles, we've created proprioception. We've bombarded our brain, at least to a small amount, of positive information, and we've decreased the cortisol levels in our body, even if it's minuscule, by taking one deep breath. Second thing, we have opened up the sort of fabric of our lungs, and that releases something called surfactant, which kind of cleans out the lungs a bit. So when you take deep breaths, you actually clean out your lungs. You kind of lift some of the toxins out of the bottom of them, and you exhale what? CO2. So you are doing so much more than just getting oxygen. So even just if you take some deep breaths, feeling stressed, kind of, under the gun, take a few deep breaths, it makes a huge difference. Get adjusted. Now, getting adjusted, you'll see this a lot on here. As a chiropractor, getting adjusted helps people mentally because it decreases the pain and the sort of negativity on their body. But being in a positive place also has and this is a very positive place. You'll see lots of people laughing and kids and all that kind of stuff. Chiropractors smiling at you, all that stuff. So it has a very real positive effect. Plus your brain also knows I'm doing something good for my body. I'm taking that pressure off my nervous system. Guess what? Decreases cortisol, all that kind of stuff, increases proprioception. Chemical stress. So the first thing is you can clean out your body. And God already knew this. He gave us vegetables to do that. So vegetables are the way that you can clean out your body. Eat lots of vegetables. And when we go into that Thanksgiving meal, load up your plate with vegetables first. I even say, eat your round of veggies first, fill yourself up, and then you can go to all the turkey and the pumpkin pie and all that kind of stuff. But the vegetables are so huge for decreasing chemical stress. Avoid sweets and high fructose corn syrup. We talked about that. Drink plenty of water. Goes without saying. Does that mean like gross tap water that has all the chemicals and the fluoride that the city of Roseville is pumping into our water supply? No. It means good, clean, filtered water. Decrease or eliminate medication as much as possible. So if you're one of these people or if you know people that are like, I'm not sure if I have a headache, I'll take 2 aspirin. You got to, cut that out, or at least say something to them, because they're putting chemical stress on. Even if they didn't have a headache, they're certainly not doing anything healthy for their body. Do a cellular cleanse after the holidays. So a cellular cleanse is a 30-day process in our office where we give you a very specific herbal and enzymatic enzymes that go into your system and pull out all the toxins and the crud that develops over time. We don't do this during the holidays. Why? Because we're still putting in all the crap and we're still under a lot of stress. But in January, when you're kind of freed up from that, and there's a big reason why in January people just sort of go, okay, I'm ready to face the world, and I'm, because they're out from under the gun, right? The bears finally left them alone for a little while. So that's why we do the cellular cleanse. But consider doing a cellular cleanse after the holidays. And guess what? Get adjusted. Just like everything else, it's so good and positive for you. It helps you decrease chemical stress. Supplements. So I recommend a few things that will help you through the holidays and through stress. Vitamin D3 is huge, 5,000 IUs a day. Anyone know what the FDA recommends?
2,000?
No, way less. It's 280.
Wow.
Yeah, 280 IUs.
Oh my God.
I recommend 5,000. And I'm crazy, so you know it's good. No, it's really, the government is so far behind, and they know that if I tested all of you in here right now, that 94% would be low in vitamin D. We get vitamin D from the sun, but if you're not out in the sun, like the sun's not around that much, you're inside, you're indoors, whatever it may be, you're just not developing the vitamin D. Vitamin D is huge for your skin, for your bones, for your immune system, for your, it's huge in so many ways. So supplementing it is super easy, it's cheap. One little capsule for 5,000 IUs a day will make a tremendous difference. Omega-3 fish oils, that kind of combats your question?
What about one-a-day women's vitamin?
Yeah, so
Equivalent to those?
the one-a-day brand is not good.
Okay, then that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would tell my story. Anyone heard my story about the
It's my way of being lazy and at least taking vitamins.
Yeah. No, the one-a-day things are pharmaceutical made and they're not very digestible. If you look at the label, my guess is they probably have about 50 IUs, like 50. So, and they're not digestible, so it's like kind of throwing away the money. So omega-3 fish oils, that's EPA DHA, that's the variety, 500 to 700 milligrams a day. The reason we do this is that all the food we eat, the sort of farm-raised stuff, the cows and beef that are fed with corn, the even fish that's farm-raised and they're fed with corn as well, pigs, and I mean all the meats we eat are heavily out of balance in terms of omega-3. So the omega-3 in there is very, very low. The omega-6 is very high. So if you were to eat, now, if you were to be perfect, if you were to eat grass-fed cows and fish from the ocean and all that kind of stuff, your ratio for omega-6 to omega-3 would be 4 to 1. 4 omega-6s to 1 omega-3. Does anyone know what the ratio in a corn-fed cow is? Any idea? 20 to 1. So very high in the omega-6s, very low in the omega-3s. If we eat a cow that has 20 to 1, what's our ratio likely to be? 20 to 1. So if I measured everyone in here, I guarantee that at least 90% would have ratios that were way out of balance. And so if you supplement with omega-3, you may be 20 to 1, but if you supplement with omega-3, guess what? Our omega-3 goes up, which means our ratio becomes much closer to balanced. 4 to 1 is what we're shooting for. So omega-3 is just a really easy way to supplement that. When you do that, when your balance is good, guess what? Your arteries are clean, your bowels work a lot better, your immune system's a lot better, all those kind of things. So supplementing those two are those are really essential ones. All the other stuff you can get really from food. Vitamin C is a great stress buster if you're under stress or if you're feeling a little stressed out or whatever. 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams per day. I recommend the chewables because they're a lot more digestible, but that's an easy one. And you can't take too much vitamin C. Question?
What about like an emergency packet? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
that's great. Yeah, so the emergency has not only vitamin C, it has the B vitamins as well. Very digestible in the highest digestibility form. Yeah. We have a product up here called Wellness Formula, which is kind of like the emergency on crack. I mean, it's like got way, way more stuff. It helps with fungus. It helps with the bacteria. It's all that stuff. So when you feel something coming on is where the emergency C works really well. And the wellness formula works even better. So stuff like that is really good. But yeah, for a daily supplement, that's really good variety. To lose weight. So some people want to lose weight and they want to say, is there any way for me to lose weight throughout the holidays? There is. I recommend you supplement one meal. So you get rid of the meal and you supplement with a protein shake that can have all sorts of other stuff. You take protein with banana and fruit and you can put lots of stuff in it. If you do that and you increase your exercise, you can almost guarantee that you're going to lose weight. And even with Thanksgiving, because I say Thanksgiving is your day off, because you get one day every week off, right? Thanksgiving is your day off. Enjoy it, have at it, eat till you drop. But guess what? The very next day, we're starting again. So that's kind of what that is. Healthy choices for all of the meals. So you can't say, okay, I'm going to supplement, my lunch with this healthy protein shake, and I'm going to eat McDonald's all the rest of the time. It doesn't work that way. So obviously healthy choices. So chemical stress. This is Flu-Laval, which is an influenza virus vaccine. I show you this because some people say, well, my doctor's really pushing this flu shot. And if for some of you guys that have seen it, they're actually pushing it for women now that are pregnant. And they say women that get the flu shot, that when they're pregnant, have less chance of this or that. All complete, like unbelievable. And it says right here, let's see, let me read it to you. Has never been adequately demonstrating a decrease in influenza disease after vaccination with Flu-Laval. So there are no controlled, and there have been no controlled trials adequately demonstrating a decrease in influenza disease after vaccination. This is on the label. So when people are pushing the flu shot, it's never, not once, been shown to decrease your incidence of the flu. On that health spectrum, 100 to 0, if I take the flu shot, which way am I going to move? Yeah, so in actual fact, a lot of studies have shown you actually have more chance of getting the flu when you take the flu shot. So don't get the flu shot. If you learn to take one thing out of this talk, do not get the flu shot.
What about the shingle shot? Because that's like the new thing this year.
Yeah, so the shingles shot is the exact same process. So you have already been exposed to the herpes zoster virus, and it's dormant in your spine. So it's already there. It's ready to go. And so you already have antibodies to it. That's the whole process with shingles. You have antibodies, but when your immune system drops low enough, all of a sudden this inactive virus pops back to life, and it takes over, and then it starts attacking the nerve. So the whole process of putting more antibodies in there is completely irrelevant. If your immune system drops, you're going to get shingles. And they've shown that over and over and over and over again, that shingles, getting the shingle shot does not decrease the incidence of shingles at all. So they've even said something ridiculous like, well, but the shingles was less, is less severe. And it's like, it's an all or none. You either get shingles or you don't. The severity is dependent on your immune system. So if your immune system is, let's put it on the spectrum. If your immune system is 50, your outbreak of shingles might be fairly mild. If you're 40, shingles is more severe. 30, 20, 10, shingles is unbearable, and it lasts months and months. And it doesn't matter, all those antiviral things, all that kind of stuff, irrelevant. It really matters how your immune system is. So when people get when they have shingles, we try and move them up on the spectrum quickly. A lot of vitamins, minerals, and get them up on the spectrum quickly, because when they do that, then their body the immune system kicks back in, and the antibodies that are already there kill off or push back the herpes zoster virus. It never gets killed off. That's one of the things with herpes, is that it'll just go into a ball and become inactive again and wait for the next time that you become more susceptible. Question?
So then, excuse me, so then if you maintain your health and you're above 50, then you don't need the shot because you're not going to get the shingles.
Exactly.
Maintaining your proper health.
Right. And let's be honest, you don't need any shot if you're 80, There's no shot you need. I don't care about polio or anything. I mean, if you're at 80, you fight it all off. You look at, what was his name, Magic Johnson, who was HIV positive, right? Had the dreaded AIDS virus. He went through a whole bunch of things, but never got AIDS. He was positive for the virus, but never got AIDS. So his level was always kept high enough that even though he got the virus and it was in his system, it never got anywhere with his immune system. And eventually, his body actually eliminated it. So now if you test him, he's HIV negative. So, you know, but we're led to believe that HIV is inevitable, it's going to kill you, right? Lots of survivors. Cancer is the same way. Cancer is where your immune system drops low enough that all of a sudden cancer cells go unrecognized and they start to proliferate and they start to spread in your body and they're using up all your resources and so forth. But if you can move your health spectrum over here, no, sometimes you have to do chemo to get rid of the cancer cells initially, but once you move over here, your immune system kicks in, starts killing off the cancer cells naturally, and then you start, you know, healing from the inside. Because all of us have cancer cells. Maybe not me, but all of you guys have. I'm kidding. All of us have cancer cells. We walk around, you go into a plane, you're radiating. I mean, everything causes cancer these days. So cancer cells are not the enemy. The real enemy is how do we keep our immune system killing them off? Because we might get 1,000 cancer cells a day, but we kill 1,000 cancer cells a day, right? So physical stress, move your spine every day. We're going to talk about that. Vibration therapy. A lot of you guys wonder why I put you on the vibration plate. Because when you vibrate, you're stimulating all those movement cells in your body, those muscles, tendons, tissues, and you're bombarding your brain with proprioception, that positive neurologic stimulation. You are decreasing the cortisol levels and really taking over, because the positive and the negative can't be high together. So when you increase the positive, you decrease the negative, you change the vibration of your actual body. Minimize physical stress in your body. That goes without saying. Your mom always said, sit up straight. That's why she said it. Get enough rest, quality sleep. This is a huge one. So in the winter time, just like, you know, bears hibernate, we need to hibernate, so-called. We need more sleep. That's a given. It might be half an hour more. It might be an hour more. It might mean you need to go to bed a half an hour early and get up half an hour later. I don't know. But how do you feel when you get the right amount of sleep? How do you feel? Feel pretty good. You wake up feeling recognized. How do you feel if you get too much sleep? Tired, groggy. How do you feel if you get too little sleep? Tired and groggy. How do you gauge the right amount of sleep for you? Yeah, you have to test it out and see, you know, how you're feeling. So, but always in the wintertime, you need more sleep. And rest is part of that. Drink lots of water. Of course, get adjusted. When you get your spine moving in place, the proprioception's bombarding your brain, you are doing very good. Did I mention adjustments? So let's talk about physical movement. So this is not stretching. This is movement. And a lot of you guys have gone over this with you. But your spine moves in 6 directions. It's actually a small fib. It actually moves in 8 directions, but 2 of them you can't really do much about. So the 6 directions are flexion, extension, that's 1 and 2. Lateral flexion, that's 3 and 4. Rotation, rotation, that's 5 and 6. The 7 and 8, anyone tell me what 7 and 8 is?
When you stretch it?
Yes, very good. Gold star. So you can axially push this way or compress. So we're always kind of compressed because gravity. But what happens if you go in those gravity boots upside down? You actually elongate your spine. So that's the 7th and 8th movement. Anyone do that right now? I don't know. It's pretty tough. So the premise there is you've got 3 sections of your spine. You've got your neck, you've got your mid-back, you've got your low back. So for your neck, you keep your shoulders still. We're going to go over this real easy, so do this with me. So you want to roll, tuck your chin and roll forward. And then back. That's flexion. So bear in mind that this is not a stretch. You don't have to get to the end range. It's not no pain, no gain, brother. It's just, movement. So you tuck your chin, you roll forward, and then you come back to neutral. Now you're going to bring your chin up and roll back and back to neutral. That's flexion and extension. Now I'm going to go to the side, so you want to roll to the side without moving your shoulders. Come back to neutral, roll to the side. So bear in mind, I'm not doing this, right? So you keep your shoulders nice and still, side, side. Now we're going to rotate, so my nose looking straight ahead. I want to turn as far as it'll go, and I want to turn as far as it'll go. I've now moved every joint in my neck through its full range of motion. Yay, proprioception, booyah. So this is something you can do. How long did that take us? 10 seconds, 15 seconds? So this is something you can do. No, the dentist had it right because they said you got to brush your teeth twice a day, morning and night, every day, day in, day out. Now, why did they push that really? Is that good for dentists? Does that make you go to the dentist more or less if you brush your teeth really well? Less. So is that who pushed that? Yeah, Crest, Colgate. They were huge companies back in the day. They were pushing it, buy our toothbrushes, brush your teeth. But it's also good for you, so that was a naturally push. Unfortunately for the world of chiropractic, there was no national company to show you how to brush your spine. But you can do it every morning and every night. See how cool this works? You can even do it with is there a dental hygienist in here? You can do it with a toothbrush in your mouth. I do it all the time. So they don't like that because you might, I don't know what they're thinking, but so you can do this every morning, every night, move your spine through its full range of motion. Let's go to this thoracic spine. So the thoracic spine's perfect when you're sitting because your pelvis is kind of locked in. For me, I'm going to make sure that my pelvis doesn't move. And so the best way that I can sort of explain this is if I had a pole that was going right through my shoulders like my arms are now. Now picture that pole is still there. I don't want you to put your arms up, but your pole is there. Now I'm going to try and move that pole as far forward as I can and arch in that mid-spine and bring that back. And now I'm going to move the pole as far back as I can, arching that spine. So now I've moved flexion, extension. Now the pole, I'm going to try and tilt. So you just tilt without moving your pelvis as far as it'll go, back as far as it'll go, back. And now I'm going to rotate the pole, so I turn without turning my pelvis and back. Now we've moved every joint in our thoracic spine through its full range of motion. Simple. So the lumbar spine's a little different. You have to stand up, so why don't we all stand up? So we're going to go forward and back. So this is not touching your toes. I want you to all bend your knees a little bit. And so when you go forward, you want to bend in your in your lower spine. Try and get that spine bent. You can even grab your knees and pull down if you want, and back. And then get your hands on your hips and try and arch that lower lumbar spine. Come back. Now you want to tilt the pelvis. So picture your belt, tilt as much as you can, almost like you're reaching down for something. And the other way. And now you can move that, I'll say move the rodeo belt. So you can move that as far to the side as you can, keep your knees slightly bent. Awesome. And have a seat. You do this twice a day, you will feel awesome, I guarantee it. So now you can combine the moves. So you can go flex, 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 toothbrush in my mouth, flex, 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 side, 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 side. I mean, literally, I can do this a lot faster than I can brush my teeth. Turn, 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 turn. So this can be done anywhere. You can do it sitting at your desk. You can, so moving your spine helps decrease physical stress. So really easy to do. Laughter, the best medicine. It says each tablet contains 25 milligrams of funny. So pick one 2, 3 things that you will do and write them down. So if you have a piece of paper, write them down. If you have a phone, punch them into your phone. Something that you're going to make a change, something you heard tonight. Because if you come to the workshops and you go, yeah, that Ross, he's a good guy, he's a funny guy, whatever you do, but you don't write anything down, you don't take anything away, did you learn anything? Felt good for a couple of days. But we want you to change. And so as you are a patient for this year and next year and the next year after that, and then your kids come in and they're patients, and we have our legacy, because we said, what's our legacy? Well, our legacy is that we get to see people's families grow up and be ridiculously healthy and have all the health news that you're never going to hear on the media or with your medical doctor. This kind of stuff happens if you make the changes. So if I tell you not to get a flu shot and you go, I'll inject twice, you're not going to get it. So you do these things and you get something out of it. Improve yourself every year. So my goal has never been to make you, into the perfect human being. My goal is always just to make you better than you are today. So the you that's next year is better than the you today. That makes sense? And if you fall off and you kind of go, wow, I'm not that much better, or I'm not better at all, then great. You start again and you try and get better from there. So the whole premise is don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try and be the perfect person. There's no such thing. Well, other than myself. But, no, I'm kidding. But you try and be better than what you are. I say that because Dr. Trish always laughs when I say this stuff like that. Keep the big idea in mind. The big idea, simply put, is that the power's already within you. And if you keep that in mind, and you keep the premise that we are perfectly built, that we already have all the tools within us, then all the other stuff is kind of not as important. You keep the big idea in mind. And the big idea, or what we call the big why, is why are you doing this stuff in the first place? Why are you trying to be healthy? Because you have a purpose in this world. Maybe you don't even know it, but there's a purpose, there's something much bigger than you, and if you keep that idea in mind, then you do things better, and you try and improve little by little. Make sense?